Hey guys, it's Thankful Thursday, and it's me, Rachel, and I am flying solo again this week, but I hope by next week that my co-host has managed to get her video up, and I'm so looking forward to you guys to meeting her, because I just know you're going to adore her. I'm in what would seem to be my Thursday outfit. Notice that I seem to wear this every time I make my film. I have new hair, much fairer, much shorter, muchly needed. And I've had a really good day actually, and I had lunch with my friends and their babies, and that was really lovely, and then I just sort of sat in hairdressers for a couple of hours. So I've just got home now, and I'm in like a really good place, and I'm feeling really positive, and life is good. Life is very good at the moment. I wanted to answer a question today which came in a PM, so I'm not actually going to use the name. But a couple of ideas were put forward by this person, and one of them is that she said, you have a lot of videos discussing attitudes about food and weight. I'd like to know more about suggestions regarding controlling one's activity level and the anxiety and emotions that occur with doing a healthy amount of activity rather than X amount of miles or X amount of time you feel compelled to. I'm going to assume that this is linked to activity in terms of exercise, but I'm also going to link it to activity overall. I feel that there's a really common link between eating disorders and not just overactivity, but overexercise also. I mean, overexercise comes into that overactivity. And I know for me, as an anorexic, overexercise was a big thing, and you know, it's caused wreckage with my body. I've already had surgery on my knee twice. I've had problems with my back. It's caused a lot of damage. I also, when I talk about that kind of overactivity, I also want to maybe try and touch on what is behind it a little bit in this video as well, and try to understand why we feel this need to be constantly active, and what is driving, not just what's driving actual activity, but also what is driving us when we're sort of over-exercising as well. For me personally, I've always my whole life been a very kind of manic, active person. That's kind of how I am, and you will see it as a pattern in a lot of people in my family. Some people in my family do it healthily, other people do it too much, and I'm not going to mention names, but there are members of my family who I look to and I think, I don't actually want to be like that. For me, general activity seems to be surrounding worth, and that if I have a day where I do very little, I cope with it pretty well now. I do cope with it pretty well. But in the past it was very hard not to do anything, because I kind of had this idea in my head, if I'm not doing anything, I'm not worth anything. So it's a case of, if I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, then I must be a really good person because I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I would put all my worth based on my activity level, so that if my activity level stopped, let's say university was out and I have Easter and I'm not running around like a blue-ass fly, I had time on my hands. It was kind of like, must fill it. Now I don't. I might fill it with going to London or going to see my friends or something. I don't feel this desperate need to constantly, fill this time. And so I've tried to not set my self-worth on how active I am. And there are people around me who do a lot more than me. And I sort of think, oh God, am I am I a bad person because I can't do this? And I have to say to myself, no, I'm doing what is within my means and what is possible for me to do. And day after day, I have to remind myself that I have to manage a healthy amount. A healthy amount to me is that you're doing things, you're enjoying doing them, and you get pleasure out of them. You don't wake up and you're not thinking, oh my God. And also that you're conscious while you're doing them, if that makes sense. Like if your overactivity is cleaning and you're just like, woo! And I know I do that. I can wake up some days and I'm just like on a mission, and that is all I'll do for like 3 hours. And to me, that isn't particularly healthy activity. It's okay when I do it because it's not very frequent. But when I was poorly, that became something that was quite damaging for me. I had to fill every single second. And when I was an insomniac, that meant filling 24 hours. And it just wasn't healthy. I never found any time for myself. And what then came with that activity was a need to do more activity. And I'm not quite sure where the over-exercise kind of came into that. But and I can't even necessarily remember what drove it. I think what drove it for me was partly this constant need to be active. I needed to be doing stuff. So right, okay, I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to the gym. And it was a way of kind of escaping and getting things out of myself. But it was also compulsive in the sense that I had to do a certain amount. I had to run X amount. And if I stopped in between X and Y, I had to go back and start at X again. And it just became hideous, and it's taken a really, really long time to find a balance with that. And to be honest with you, now I have been going to the gym. I'm not right now, but in the past I was going to the gym when I've been in a better place, and quite soon it became quite compulsive and quite obsessive. So I guess my recommendations for you are to maybe do it with somebody. Like now, if I do any activity, I either go walking with my parents or I'll go for a run with my brother, but other than that I don't particularly do that much. I find activity in the nice things, like going for a walk, not like a trek in the hills here, but like a nice walk, finding some time for yourself. I take my camera out with me so that I'm less focused on how far I'm walking or how long I'm walking for. It's more about what the pictures that I'm taking. Do I want to get home now and put them up? So in terms of finding a balance, you have to be really strict with yourself, and that's the truth. You have to limit yourself, and that's kind of what I say. And if I say I'm going to do something, I'm like, look, I'm only going to do this till 2:30, and then I'm actually going to stop, because that's more than enough time to do this set activity. Like I've said, do it with people. My other thing is to get used to being still. Practice. It takes practice. You at one time could not put me in front of a cinema or in front of a DVD or sit me down for lunch with the girls or just a long coffee. I had to be doing stuff, and now I'm just sort of like, well, do you know what? Is there anything I actually need to be doing? I can chill out for, I'm going to chill out. Like, I've got home now and I have got uni work to do, but I'm going to chill out for a bit. And I'm going to find some time for myself. And it's getting used to that time, because what will happen is if you start to find time for yourself, yes, feelings will probably catch up with you, but they're not going to kill you. They're not going to kill you. Be with them. If you're feeling a bit low, that's okay, That's okay. Pick up the phone to a friend, go online, play your favourite song, draw, write, do whatever it is that makes you feel better. If it makes you feel better to put on your coat and go in your car for a drive, go and do that. Just try to balance your life. Try to find that middle ground. I hate that word, because I'm either this or I'm this. But try to find that place where it's enough, and say to yourself, do you know what, that's enough. I can't take on any more commitments at the moment without it making me burst. Because what I used to do is do, whether it be exercise, whether it be work, whether it be just constant activity, filling my diary up with dates, and I would crash. Give me like a couple of months like that, and bang, and my eating disorder would come back, and all of these issues would happen. And instead now I actually have learned to say no, and I've learned to say, look, I can't do any more than this. And if my body's telling me it's tired, to say, do you know what, it's okay today. You'd maybe planned to do this, but you're tired. That's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person. And the amount of activity or exercise or whatever it is, it doesn't make you a bad person if you want to say, no more. And, just, yourself better than I know you, and balance it from that, because you do. You know yourself far better than I know you. And just chill. And it's okay to. And it's okay to take it easy. And if you've been, if you do like to do sport, maybe do group sport. My cousin's the captain of the netball team. Do things like that which are actually social and active. Have a time limit on them, but are more about the activity and the energy and the friendships and the movement and all of that, than it being about, I have to run, 8 kilometres. And if I stop at any point between that, I have to start again. I mean, those kind of rules are the things that I used to live with, and they're hideous. They just restrict your life so much. And what's the quote? There is a really good quote. Something to do with perfectionism is the voice of the oppressor, and I think there's a lot to be said for that. And yeah, I let go, and use the people around you to help you do that. Alright guys, I'm going to let you go now, and I hope you have like a great weekend, and hopefully next week you'll see me with somebody else. Alright, take care. Bye.